I never saw it coming. Not like this. Not from her. I stood there in front of the entire office watching Clara Fitzgerald, my boss, my confidant, the woman I thought I could trust, smile as she tore me apart. The room was buzzing with the usual excitement for the annual marketing gala, but for me, everything felt like it was happening in slow motion. My heart was pounding in my chest, my hands were clammy, but somehow I stood frozen. "Max," Clara said, her voice smooth, almost too smooth as she turned toward me. Her eyes glinted, but it wasn't the usual spark of ambition. It was something colder, sharper. "I'm sure you've noticed our intern Chloe has shown some potential." She looked directly at Chloe, who stood at the edge of the room, nervously adjusting her glasses. "Perhaps you could learn a thing or two from her," Clara added, her words like a slap. I felt the blood drain from my face. The air in the room thickened, pressing down on me as I realized what was happening. Clara wasn't just talking about Chloe's skills. She was making a statement. I was no longer the golden boy in her eyes. I was the joke. "I've been working on this campaign for months," I managed to choke out, though my voice was barely audible. "Yes, but perhaps you've been too focused on the details, Max," Clara interrupted, her eyes gleaming with something I couldn't quite place. "Details that, quite frankly, have held us back." The room was silent, but I could feel the eyes on me. The whispers. I had put my faith in Clara, worked long hours, sacrificed so much for the company, and this was what I got in return? Public humiliation? Clara's eyes flickered over my face for a moment, like she was savoring the effect of her words. She didn't care that it hurt. That it stung deeper than any criticism she'd ever given me. I could see her glancing toward Chloe, a faint smile tugging at the corners of her lips, like she'd just won a game. That's when it hit me, this wasn't about work. It was about power. And I was the pawn she'd just sacrificed. "I'll leave it to you to adjust, Max. Perhaps Chloe can help you get it right," Clara said, her voice dripping with mock sympathy. She turned back to the group as if I wasn't even there. I felt my hands tremble. I wanted to say something, to fight back, but the words caught in my throat. I could feel my throat tightening, my chest constricting, and before I knew it, I was backing away from the crowd, my head spinning. What just happened? I whispered to myself, my voice barely above a breath. My mind raced. This wasn't just about her belittling me, it was the way she did it, in front of everyone. It was a power move, a reminder that I was replaceable. The rest of the event blurred together, the laughter of my coworkers echoing in the background as I slipped into a daze. Clara's betrayal stung worse than I'd ever imagined. All those late nights, those sacrifices, and this was how she repaid me? The walk to my car felt endless. I couldn't think straight, couldn't breathe without feeling suffocated by the weight of what had just happened. I replayed the moment over and over in my head. It was as if I had been slapped awake from a dream, realizing everything I thought I knew about my life, my career, was a lie. When I reached the car, I leaned against it for a moment, my mind racing. I should have known better. Should have seen the signs. Clara had been distant for weeks, her attention shifting, and I'd been too blind to notice. I'd been too busy trying to prove myself to her, to show her that I could handle anything, that I was worth her respect. But she'd never respected me. I gripped the car door and exhaled slowly, trying to steady my shaking hands. There was a part of me that wanted to go back inside, confront her, demand an apology. But another part of me knew that would be useless. This wasn't about an apology. She wasn't going to apologize. She wanted me broken. And for a moment, standing there in the parking lot, I felt broken. The weight of what Clara did hit me the moment I stepped into the office the next morning. The smug look she had when she humiliated me in front of everyone was burned into my mind, replaying over and over as I walked through the familiar halls. I should have seen it coming, but I didn't. Now all I could feel was the sting of betrayal. I sat down at my desk, the silence in the office feeling louder than ever. No one said a word, but I could feel their eyes on me. Every movement, every click of a mouse felt like an assault. I couldn't focus, couldn't think straight. How could she do this to me? "Max," Eli's voice broke through the haze. He stood at my desk, his face full of concern. "You good?" I didn't look up at first. "Do I look good?" My voice was hollow, lacking the usual confidence I prided myself on. Eli sat down in the chair across from me, his eyes searching mine. "Listen, man, I know that went south, but don't let it get to you. You're better than this. You've been working your ass off for months." "I've been working my ass off for her," I muttered, the words bitter in my mouth. "I thought she respected me, Eli. I trusted her." He leaned forward, his tone serious now. "Clara's a bitch. You know this. You've been seeing the signs. Just don't let it break you. You've got talent. You'll find your way." "Talent?" I chuckled bitterly. It's not about talent. She used me, Eli. She humiliated me like I was nothing. Eli rubbed the back of his neck, clearly uncomfortable. Yeah, I get it. I do. But you can't let this be your story. You need to take control back, Max. Don't let her win. I stood up, the chair scraping against the floor as I paced in frustration. Control? How do I take control of this? She's got everything now. She made me look like a joke in front of everyone. And now I can't even look at myself without feeling like I've been played. Eli didn't say anything at first, just watching me. Finally he stood and walked over to me. You're not a joke. But you gotta decide, man. What's your next move? Let her keep pushing you around? Or you gonna stand up? I didn't answer him right away. I couldn't. I didn't know what the next move was. It felt like I was stuck, like everything had been taken from me in an instant, and I didn't know how to fight back. The rest of the day dragged on. Clara barely looked at me, and when she did, it was with that same cold, calculating gaze she always wore when she was making a decision about someone's fate. She had already made hers about me. And then there was Chloe. She came over to my desk toward the end of the day, nervously clutching her notepad. Max, can we talk? Her voice was soft, almost apologetic. I didn't look up from my computer. I'm not interested, Chloe. Go talk to your boss. She flinched at the sharpness in my tone. I just wanted to say, I never wanted things to happen like that. I finally looked up, meeting her eyes. I could see the guilt in them, but I couldn't shake the anger. You were part of it. You're not innocent, Chloe. You stood there and let her rip me apart. I didn't want to, but, she hesitated, glancing down at her shoes. She said it was for the best. She said you wouldn't listen to her unless it was public. I shook my head, laughing bitterly. You're really telling me that Clara Fitzgerald, of all people, needed to humiliate me to get her point across? Chloe winced, her eyes darting to the door like she was trying to decide whether to leave or stay. I don't want to be part of this, Max. You are? I interrupted, my voice barely above a whisper. You're already part of it, Chloe. She made sure of that. You might as well own it. I didn't want this. I never wanted to hurt you, she said, her voice breaking. But, I'm just an intern. What choice did I have? I didn't answer her. I couldn't. Every word she said made me feel like I was drowning. She was sorry, but that didn't fix what had already happened. That didn't take back the humiliation I had to live with. Chloe hesitated for a moment before she left, the weight of her guilt hanging in the air long after she walked away. Eli was right. I had to decide what to do next. But I was stuck, torn between my desire for revenge and the need to just walk away. Later that night, I sat alone in my apartment, staring at my phone, debating whether I should call Clara. Ask her why. But even as I thought about it, I knew it would never be enough. She had already made her choice. And now I had to make mine. I hadn't slept a full night since the event. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw Clara's face, the smug satisfaction, the way she watched me crumble. But what hurt more wasn't just her betrayal, it was how easily she had discarded me. I was nothing but another pawn to her. I walked into the office the next morning with a heavy weight in my chest. The atmosphere felt suffocating. I could feel the eyes of my coworkers on me, but no one said a word. Clara was already at her desk, typing away as if nothing had happened. Like I hadn't just been humiliated in front of the entire office. I stood at my desk for a few moments, staring blankly at the screen. The pressure of it all, the whispers, the betrayal, the judgment, was almost too much. I had to make a decision and I knew it. I couldn't stay here. Not like this. Max, Clara's voice came from behind me, cold but somewhat hesitant. Can we talk? I didn't turn around immediately. I was so tired of pretending I didn't know what was going on. I wanted to tell her to leave me the hell alone, but I needed answers. Needed to hear her say it, to finally admit the truth. I spun around slowly. What do you want, Clara? Her face softened for a moment, though I could tell it was forced. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. I owe you an apology. The way I acted yesterday was unprofessional, and I'm sorry. It wasn't meant to go that way. I just stared at her. The nerve of her, trying to act like it was a misunderstanding. Unprofessional? I repeated, my voice thick with disbelief. You humiliated me. In front of everyone. And now you think a simple apology is supposed to make that go away. Clara's eyes flickered, and I saw a hint of guilt behind her usual cold demeanor. Max, please, I didn't want it to be like that. I had my reasons. Chloe she's ambitious, and I wanted her to understand what it takes. I laughed, bitter and incredulous. What it takes? To throw someone under the bus? Is that what it takes? I couldn't hold it back anymore. You used me, Clara. And now you expect me to just let it go because you're sorry? She took a deep breath, stepping closer. Max, please. I didn't know how else to handle it. You were getting too close to Chloe and… I held up a hand to stop her. I don't need your excuses, Clara. You don't get to control people like that. Not me, not anyone. Not anymore. Her face twisted, and for the first time I saw a crack in her composure. You don't understand. I was doing what I thought was best. Best for who, Clara? I shot back. You or me? She fell silent for a moment, her gaze dropping to the floor. I could tell she was trying to think of something to salvage this, but nothing she said would fix what she had done. It was too late for that. I can't do this anymore, I said, my voice cold. I need a fresh start. And I'm done with this place. Clara looked up sharply. Max, please. Don't do this. You're one of the best people we have here. You can't just walk away over one mistake. One mistake. I laughed again, this time without humor. This isn't one mistake, Clara. This is the culmination of everything I've been trying to ignore. I'm not your pawn. I won't let you treat me like this anymore. She stepped back, her expression hardening again, but I saw the vulnerability she was trying so hard to hide. So that's it? You're leaving? Just like that? I nodded, my decision final. Yeah, just like that. I spent the rest of the day packing up my things. I wasn't sure what I was going to do next. Maybe take a break, get out of Chicago, start over somewhere new. All I knew was that I couldn't stay in this toxic environment any longer. Every corner of the office reminded me of Clara's betrayal, of the way she had manipulated me for her own gain. As I packed up my desk, Chloe came by again. She stood there awkwardly, watching me for a few moments before speaking. I heard you're leaving, she said quietly, her voice barely above a whisper. I paused for a moment, not sure what to say to her. She wasn't entirely to blame, but her involvement stung. Yeah, I said simply. I'm done here. I'm sorry, Max, Chloe said, her eyes filled with guilt. I didn't want it to go down like this. I never meant to hurt you. I didn't know how to respond. Part of me wanted to yell at her, to tell her how much she had hurt me, but I also knew that she had been used just like I had. It's not all on you, Chloe, I said finally. You're not the one who made all the decisions. She nodded, her eyes filled with unshed tears. But I should have said something. I should have done something. Don't worry about it, I said. It's over. I'm moving on. And with that, I walked out the door, knowing it was the right decision. It was time to leave behind everything that had hurt me. Time to take control of my own life. It felt good to leave. I walked out of that office, out of Chicago, with nothing but the clothes on my back and a plane ticket to New York. A fresh start, a clean slate. I couldn't think of anything else as the plane lifted off. The city below, the place that had suffocated me for too long, was shrinking beneath me. I wasn't looking back. Not this time. The first few weeks in New York were a blur. The job was different. It was everything I'd hoped for, challenging, fast-paced, the kind of place where you had to prove yourself every single day. No one knew me here, and that was exactly how I wanted it. I buried myself in work, in the rhythm of a new life. But as time passed, I couldn't help but keep an eye on Chicago. It was like a train wreck I couldn't look away from. I stayed updated through the occasional message from Eli and some online gossip. Clara's losing it, man, Eli said one night over the phone, his voice tight with amusement. You were right. She's falling apart without you. I didn't know how to feel about it. Part of me wanted to feel satisfaction, but another part of me just felt detached. I'd walked away, and now I was watching her self-destruct from a distance, but I didn't feel the triumph I expected. She's got herself to blame, I said, staring out of my New York apartment window. The city lights below reminded me of how far I had come. She made her choice. I'm not going back, Eli. You think Ryan's gonna stick around when he finds out what she did to you? Eli's voice dropped, the gossiper in him coming out. You should have seen him the other day, he's not happy. Ryan Harper. Clara's fiancé. The guy who had everything, or so I'd thought. The more I heard about their relationship, the more I realized how hollow it all was. Clara had built this perfect image, this life that looked like it came straight out of a magazine, but it was crumbling behind the scenes. I don't care about Ryan, I said, my voice steady. It's over. She can keep playing her games, but I'm done. Let her figure it out. Weeks turned into months. Clara's cracks began to show in ways I didn't expect. Her professional image started to falter. Clients pulled out, her team started to question her decisions, and rumors about her relationship with Ryan began to circulate. Eli kept me updated, but I didn't need to hear much more. I knew it was only a matter of time before her world came crashing down. One evening I got a message from Eli. Clara's at it again. She tried to make nice with everyone at work, but it's not working. Ryan found out everything. She's alone now. I stared at the message, letting the words sink in. I couldn't say I was surprised. Clara's world had always been built on control and manipulation. She thrived when she had power over people, but when that was stripped away, it was clear that her foundation was weak. And Ryan wasn't stupid. He saw the cracks too. I sat there, the city lights flickering outside my window, and for the first time in a long while, I smiled. I didn't want revenge. I didn't want to see her suffer. But it was hard not to feel a sense of satisfaction knowing that karma was playing out exactly how I'd imagined. I had walked away from all of it, Chicago, the firm, Clara. And for the first time I felt like I was in control. Not her, not anyone else. It was me now. A few months later I got a call from Eli again. "Max," he said, his voice full of something that almost sounded like pity. "Clara's been trying to get back with Ryan. She's pulling out all the stops, even offering to leave the company behind. But he's done, man. He's gone." I closed my eyes for a moment, taking in the words. There was no satisfaction in hearing it. Just a quiet understanding. She was alone, finally facing the consequences of her actions. And I wasn't there to gloat. I wasn't even there to watch. I had already moved on. "Good for him," I said, my voice neutral. "She got what she deserved." Eli hesitated before speaking again. "You really don't want to go back and talk to her? Make sure she knows what she lost." I shook my head even though Eli couldn't see me. "No. I've got nothing to prove to her. I'm done." It was strange, that sense of freedom. Not the kind of freedom you get when you quit a job or walk away from a bad situation. No, this was different. This was the freedom that comes with emotional independence. I wasn't bound to Clara's expectations anymore, wasn't tied down by her manipulation. And every day I felt a little more like myself again. I was no longer the Max who was drowning in Clara's world. I was the Max who had left, who had taken control of his own life. And the best part? I wasn't looking back. I had my life, and it was mine to live. It had been weeks since I left Chicago, and the distance between Clara and me had never felt more real. My life in New York had started to take shape in ways I hadn't expected. Every day felt like a step away from the mess I left behind, but even now, I could still feel the remnants of Clara's betrayal gnawing at me. I was sitting in my apartment one afternoon, going over a project at work, when I got a message. It was from Clara. "Max, we need to talk. Please. I know I've hurt you, but I want to explain. I'm not the person I was before. Can we meet?" I stared at the message for a long time. My heart didn't race anymore. It didn't pound like it used to when I thought about her. Now I was just numb. The idea of hearing her beg for my forgiveness, after everything she did to me, felt almost comical. I set my phone down and rubbed my eyes. The guilt that had once eaten at me, the sense of loss, was now replaced by something else. Clarity. I had walked away and I wasn't going back. The next day my phone buzzed again. Another message from Clara, this time more urgent. "Max, please. I can't fix this on my own. I need you. I've made a huge mistake and I want to make it right. Please. I'm sorry." I was half tempted to ignore it, but something in me pushed me to respond. Maybe I just wanted closure. Or maybe I just needed to hear her say the words so I could put this chapter behind me. I typed a quick response. "You can't make it right, Clara. Not now. Not after everything." I didn't add anything else. It felt like enough. A few hours later my phone rang. It was her. I hesitated for a moment before picking up. The sound of her voice hit me like a wave. "Max," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "I've been trying to get in touch with you, but you keep pushing me away. I need to explain, please. Just hear me out." I leaned back in my chair, staring out the window. "What's there to explain, Clara? You used me. Humiliated me. And now you want to apologize." I know. "And I'm sorry more than you can ever imagine." Her voice cracked. "But I've realized something. I've been a terrible person. I did things I can't undo, and I regret it. Please, Max, I need you to understand. I wasn't thinking straight." I didn't respond right away. Part of me wanted to feel sympathy, wanted to believe that her words were genuine. But deep down I knew the truth. She wasn't sorry for what she did to me, she was sorry because she got caught. Sorry because her perfect little world was starting to fall apart. "I don't need your apology, Clara," I said, my voice steady but cold. "I don't need to hear how sorry you are. It doesn't change anything. You've already made your choices. You humiliated me, and you made it clear that I was just a tool for you to use." "Max, please," she pleaded, her voice desperate now. It wasn't like that. You were always important to me. I was scared. I was afraid I'd lose control. Control? I scoffed. That's what it always came down to for you, didn't it? Control. Power. You used me to feel important. And now that it's all slipping away, you're trying to fix it. But it's too late. There was silence on the other end, and for a moment I thought she might hang up. But then she spoke, her voice quieter now. I never meant to hurt you, Max. I thought you'd understand. But I was wrong. And I don't know how to fix it. I don't need you to fix anything, I said firmly. You don't get to fix this. Not after everything you did. Her breathing was heavy on the other end, like she was trying to find the right words. I'll always regret this, Max. Always. And if I could go back and change it, I would. I wish I had never hurt you. I closed my eyes, the weight of her words sitting heavily on my chest. Part of me wanted to reach out to comfort her, but I couldn't. Not anymore. You should have thought about that before you threw me under the bus for Chloe, I said quietly, my voice finally softening. You should have thought about what it would do to me. You don't get to make up for it now, Clara. It's done. I understand, she whispered. I want you to know I'm sorry. For everything. I paused, the air thick between us. Sorry doesn't fix what you did. Sorry doesn't give me back the respect I had for you. It doesn't change anything. There was another long silence. Then I heard her say, "Goodbye, Max." I didn't say anything after that. I just hung up. I sat in silence for a long time, staring at my phone. I had expected something, maybe a wave of relief, maybe a sense of closure, but instead I felt nothing. It wasn't satisfaction or anger. It wasn't even sadness. It was just emptiness. Clara's apology wasn't enough. It would never be enough. I had already moved on. It's been almost a year since I left Chicago. A year of slowly shedding the weight of what happened. The humiliation. The betrayal. The people I thought I could trust. New York had been a good change. New job, new pace, and no one from my past to drag me down. But after months of work and restless nights, I needed a break. A real one. I booked a flight to Italy. Rome. The thought of getting lost in a city full of history, art, and culture felt like a kind of escape I could finally afford. It didn't take long for me to feel the change. There's something about the pace of life here, slower, gentler, that eased something in me. I spent the first few days just walking, exploring the narrow streets, sitting in cafes and watching life move around me. No one knew me here. I was just another face in the crowd. And for once, that felt like a blessing. One afternoon, while I was at a small cafe in Trastevere sipping on espresso, I met Madison. I hadn't noticed her at first. She was sitting at a table across from mine, sketching something in her notebook. She had the kind of look about her that made you feel like she was always in motion even when she was sitting still. She glanced up from her notebook and met my gaze. "Sorry," she said, her voice soft but direct. "I didn't mean to stare." I shrugged. "No problem. I don't mind." I was still trying to figure out why she had been looking at me in the first place. She smiled like she'd just found the answer to something. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world." I raised an eyebrow. "That obvious?" Madison didn't say anything at first, just studied me, like she was trying to read something I hadn't said. "It's in the eyes. Tired but trying to hide it. Like you're running away from something." I shifted in my seat. "Maybe I am." She closed her notebook with a soft snap. "You don't have to tell me. I'm not a therapist or anything." Her smile was knowing, like she'd seen this all before. "But you should try not to let it follow you all over the world." Her words hit harder than I expected. I had been trying to run from my past for so long, but it was like I couldn't outrun it. Maybe I'd been too focused on moving forward without ever really looking back to face what had happened. "Sometimes," I said, "it's easier to just keep moving than to face the truth." Madison leaned back in her chair, folding her arms, studying me carefully. "You think running is going to help you move on?" "I don't know what else to do." She smiled again, this time with more warmth. "You've got to let yourself heal first. You can't just bury it and expect it to go away." I hesitated. "I don't even know how to start." Her eyes softened, and she spoke with a quiet intensity. "I can't tell you how to do that, but I think you're already starting by being here. You came to Rome for a reason, right? You didn't just come for the sights. You're looking for something, whether you realize it or not." I felt a shift inside me, a strange kind of pull. She wasn't wrong. I had come here to get away, but maybe I was searching for something more than just a change of scenery. I leaned forward. "Maybe. But I'm not sure I'm ready to trust anyone again. Not after everything that's happened." Madison didn't seem surprised. She took a deep breath before speaking. It's hard to trust when you've been hurt. But you don't have to trust everyone. Start small. Trust yourself. Trust that you're capable of moving on. The sincerity in her voice made my heart ache. It wasn't a promise of easy answers or instant solutions, but it was enough. It made me feel like maybe, just maybe, I could begin to move on. We spent the next few days exploring Rome together. Madison showed me places I wouldn't have found on my own, hidden cafes, quiet alleyways, little gems that weren't in the guidebooks. As we walked through the city, she talked about her own life, her travels, the things she had learned. The more time I spent with her, the more I realized how different she was from anyone I'd met before. She didn't ask about my past or try to probe into my history. She let me be, but she was there when I needed someone to talk to. I never expected to connect with someone like that, not when I was still trying to figure out who I even was after everything. But Madison had a way of making me feel safe. Safe enough to let down some of the walls I had built around myself. One evening, as we sat by the Tiber River, the sun setting behind the city, she turned to me. So, what's next for you, Max? What are you going to do when you get back? I thought for a moment, the question weighing on me. I'm not sure. I guess I'm still figuring that out. Madison smiled, her eyes catching the last rays of sunlight. Well, don't wait too long to decide. The world's waiting for you to catch up. Her words lingered in the air between us, and for the first time in a long while, I felt like I had a future ahead of me. One that wasn't defined by betrayal or regret. Maybe it wasn't about running away anymore. Maybe it was about moving forward, with or without the past trailing behind. And for the first time, I felt ready to take that step. I hadn't thought about Clara in weeks. Not seriously. Not enough to let her consume my thoughts. I had moved on, or at least that's what I told myself. The days in New York were peaceful, the work demanding, but manageable. I had my own space now, my own rhythm. No more games. No more manipulation. But then Eli reached out. Max, you won't believe this, he started, his voice full of disbelief. Clara's life is falling apart. Ryan dumped her. I felt a brief flash of something, maybe satisfaction, maybe indifference, but I pushed it down. I had no reason to gloat. Not anymore. Ryan broke up with her? I asked, half laughing. Yeah, man. He found out everything. About you. About her lying to him for months. All of it. He's gone. Gone for good this time. I didn't know how to feel. I should have felt something, right? Something more than this dull sense of closure. But it wasn't a victory. It was just inevitable. I guess it was bound to happen, I said, trying to keep my tone neutral. Yeah, but damn, man. The look on her face when it all hit the fan? She's not who she thought she was. You were right. She had no idea how far she'd pushed it. I leaned back in my chair, my fingers tapping the desk lightly. Does it even matter anymore? I asked. I'm not going back to that mess, Eli. Let her deal with it. She's trying to call you. So, keep sending messages thinking you'll forgive her. I didn't respond at first. The silence between us stretched for a moment before I spoke. I'm done with her, Eli. She had her chance. It didn't take long for the news to reach me. Clara's company was in chaos. The clients had started pulling out. Her colleagues were whispering, and the reputation she'd so carefully built began to crack at the seams. Clara had always been a master at controlling the narrative, but now the walls were crumbling. I heard from Eli a few days later. Max, I don't know how to say this, but I think she's finally realized it. She can't fix what she's done. She tried to make amends with her team, but it's over. People are leaving. That was the moment when it hit me. Clara wasn't just losing Ryan. She was losing everything. Her power, her control, all the things that used to define her were slipping away. And it didn't feel like victory for me. It just felt natural. A few weeks passed and I started to settle into my new life. I was doing better than I ever had. I wasn't thinking about Clara anymore, not really. She had become a ghost in my past. My mornings in New York were peaceful, my days productive, and for the first time in a long time, I wasn't waiting for the next shoe to drop. One afternoon, I got a message from her. Max, please, can we meet? I need to talk to you. I can't keep doing this. I can't fix it, but I need you to know how sorry I am. I read the message, then stared at my phone. It wasn't anger I felt. It wasn't even sadness. It was a kind of disbelief. The same disbelief that had filled me when she had first betrayed me, the disbelief that it had taken her this long to realize the damage she'd done. I typed back, my fingers steady, my decision made. It's too late, Clara. You had your chance. It felt final. Like something inside me had clicked. I had moved on. I wasn't the same person who had let her control me. The person who had begged for her affection. The person who thought everything would fall apart without her. Days later, Eli called again, but his tone was different. Max, she's gone, man. She left Chicago. I heard she's moving to a smaller firm, barely hanging on. People are talking about her in a way that's hard to ignore. She's not the boss anymore. Not even close. I felt a strange mix of emotions. Not joy, but something else. Something quieter. Good, I said simply. Maybe now she'll have to face what she did. Eli was silent for a beat before he responded. You're not mad anymore, huh? No. I'm not, I replied. She got what she deserved. But I don't need to be part of it. I don't need to watch her crash anymore. I spent the next few months fully immersed in my new life. The work was challenging, the city vibrant, and for the first time in ages, I felt like I was in control of my own destiny. I wasn't looking over my shoulder, wondering if Clara's manipulation would reach me again. She had no power over me. And that, in itself, felt like victory. There was no need for revenge. No need to watch her fall. I had already let go. The power had shifted. And for the first time in a long time, I was free. I never thought this day would come, but when I saw the message from Clara, I knew it was inevitable. Max, can we meet? I need to talk to you. Please, it's important. I've changed. I stared at the message for a long time, the same knots in my stomach that used to appear every time she tried to pull me back into her web. It wasn't the same this time, though. I wasn't the same person. A part of me felt curious. What could she possibly say after everything? What excuse could she offer now when everything had already fallen apart? I tapped out a response. I'm not in Chicago anymore, Clara. I wasn't. I had been in Rome for the past few months, working on myself, finding peace in a place far removed from the chaos of her world. And yet, there it was, the message, the same request. Can we talk? I knew it was pointless, but still, something in me decided to meet her. I'd left that life behind, but it felt like maybe this last conversation was necessary. For closure. For me. When I stepped into the cafe she chose, I saw Clara immediately. She was sitting by the window looking older, worn out, nothing like the confident, powerful woman I used to know. Her face, usually so composed, looked anxious, nervous even, as if she wasn't sure what to expect either. I took a seat across from her, leaning back casually, trying to keep my distance. Max, she said, her voice softer than I expected. I'm glad you came. I didn't answer right away. What was there to say? I was done with the past, done with her. You asked to meet. I'm here. What is it, Clara? Her hands trembled slightly as she placed them on the table, her gaze avoiding mine. She looked vulnerable, like she was trying to figure out how to rebuild everything she had lost. I know I've hurt you, and I know I can't undo what I've done. I raised an eyebrow. No kidding. Her lips tightened, and she looked like she was holding back tears. I've been trying to change, Max. I know I made mistakes. I know I pushed you away. But I've learned. I've changed. Please, I want you back. I almost laughed. It was a bitter, hollow sound. You think you've changed? After everything? You think one apology, one change of heart, is enough to fix what you did? She looked at me, desperation in her eyes. I know it's not enough. I know it's not that simple. But I can't stand what I've become. I need you, Max. I need your forgiveness. I stared at her. The woman who had once seemed invincible, who had controlled everything, was now begging. It should have been satisfying. It should have felt like a win. But it didn't. I'm not the same person anymore, Clara, I said, my voice steady. You don't get to come back and expect everything to fall into place. You don't get to fix things just because you've had a change of heart. Her eyes filled with tears, and for the first time in a long while, I felt a flicker of sympathy. But it didn't change the facts. I was done. I can't do this, Clara. I've moved on. I'm not the man you used to know. But she reached across the table, but I pulled my hand away before she could touch me. Stop, I said sharply. I've already told you. You can't just erase what happened. What you did. She looked like she was about to argue, but I cut her off. You don't understand, do you? You don't get it. I'm not angry at you anymore, Clara. I don't hate you. But I'm done. I'm free. And nothing you say will change that. Her shoulders slumped. Please, Max. Please don't go. I'm begging you. I'm not going back to that life, I said, standing up. I'm not going back to you. I've moved on. You should too. I didn't wait for her to say anything else. I walked out of the cafe, the door swinging shut behind me. The streets of Rome felt different this time. I wasn't running away. I wasn't trying to escape anything. I was just living. And as I walked away, I realized something I hadn't fully understood before. I didn't need Clara anymore. She wasn't the one who defined my happiness. I had found that strength within myself. It was over. The past was done. That night, I sat in the same cafe I had met Clara in, sipping on a drink. For the first time in a long time, I felt at peace. There was no lingering anger. No regret. Just freedom. The chapter with Clara had closed, and I was ready for whatever came next. I sat on the balcony of my small apartment in Rome. The city below me bathed in the warm glow of the setting sun. The sounds of the bustling streets drifted up to me, but they felt distant, like they belonged to someone else's life. Not mine. The past few months had been a whirlwind, New York, then Rome. It had all felt like an escape at first, a way to outrun the memories of Clara and the mess I left behind. But now, sitting here, the city spread out before me, I realized that I wasn't running anymore. I wasn't escaping anything. I was living. For the first time in a long time, I felt peace. A gentle breeze tugged at my shirt, pulling me out of my thoughts. I closed my eyes for a moment, letting the wind wash over me. I had come a long way from that man who was broken by betrayal. I'd let go of the anger, the hurt. Clara's manipulation, her lies, they didn't have a hold on me anymore. I had spent so long trying to get her to see me, trying to make her understand what she had done, but now I saw it clearly. I was the one who had been lost. And it wasn't her actions that had caused my pain, it was my inability to let go. I didn't need closure from her. I didn't need her apology. What I needed was to let go. To stop letting her control my emotions from a distance. My phone buzzed on the table next to me. I knew who it was before I even looked. Claire. I had deleted her number weeks ago, but she kept sending messages. She kept trying to reach me, desperate for a response, for some sign that I cared. I picked it up, staring at her name on the screen. The familiar weight of her betrayal hit me again, but this time it didn't sting. It didn't make me ache the way it used to. Max, please. I need you. Please let me explain. I almost laughed, but it wasn't funny anymore. There was no explanation she could give that would change anything. There was no apology that would make the past go away. I typed a quick response. It's too late, Clara. I'm not the person you knew. Let go. I didn't wait for her to reply. I set the phone down and leaned back in my chair, looking at the city below. I felt lighter now, more in control of myself than I ever had. I didn't need to keep running from the past. The past had already happened. All I had to do was move forward. Later that evening, I met a couple of new friends at a nearby restaurant. They were expats like me, carving out their own lives in this foreign city. They talked about their dreams, their reasons for being here, and what they hoped to find in Rome. It was refreshing hearing their optimism, their excitement for the future. But what hit me the hardest was how they talked about their past. One of them had been betrayed by a close friend, another had lost a loved one too soon. Yet they all spoke of their journeys with hope. They didn't linger on what had hurt them. They didn't let it define them. And I realized, this was what I had been missing. This is what I had been waiting for. I'm just glad I'm here, one of them said, smiling across the table. It took a while to get here, but I've finally found peace. I smiled, nodding. Yeah, me too. Finally. After dinner, I walked back to my apartment, the cool night air filling my lungs. The streets of Rome were quieter at night, and I felt a sense of calm wash over me. There was no rush, no pressure. Just the sound of my footsteps echoing in the empty streets. For the first time in so long, I didn't feel like I was searching for something. I had found it. I had found peace in letting go. I had found strength in embracing my past, not by trying to change it, but by accepting it. Clara was still out there, still trying to fix things that were already broken, but I wasn't her responsibility anymore. I wasn't anyone's responsibility anymore. I was free. And as I stood in front of my apartment, looking out at the darkened city, I finally felt like I was home. It wasn't in New York, and it sure as hell wasn't in Chicago. It was here, in the present, in this moment where I finally understood what it meant to be at peace. This was my new life. And I was ready for whatever came next. The past was over. And I was free to live.